Now, I'm covering this because when I did an unboxing for the Switch 2, so many people were asking for me to put this little cartridge in the Switch 2 to see what would happen. Mostly because there was a post that was made online that said, this is ahead of the Switch 2's release, that it would be bricked completely if you put a MIG switch in there. It also mentioned that if you were changing different voltages inside the system, even slightly, the thing would brick. And the entire post just kind of read as fiction, to be honest. But I did say when I got a Switch 2, we would try it out right here. So I do have the MIG switch. This has actually I think 4 or 5 games that I dumped, like specifically from my cartridges. So these are games that I do own that are on here with the unique certificate, the whole thing, right? And I brought out the Switch OLED here just to show that the MIG switch does indeed work. So we'll start with that actually. Let me move this out of the way here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and drop this in and we'll cycle through. There we go, so we have the MIG switch, Switch OLED. We're just gonna go through. So there we go, we have Tales of Vesperia, Definitive Edition, Sonic Racing, and Wild Guns Reloaded. I feel like that's all of them. Yeah, so we're right back to Crash Bandicoot at that point. So there you go, the MIG switch does indeed work with several different games on there. Let's pop back out. OLED off to the side, Switch 2. Okay, so I did have both of them. The OLED was also connected to Wi-Fi. This one, same deal. It does have the day one update, so it works fine with Switch 1 games. As you see, I had Mario Odyssey loaded up here, and then I also played Cyberpunk on it. So it is fully up to date. Let's pop the MIG switch in here. And there you go. It seems to read Tales of Vesperia fine. We'll pop it out, drop back in. Still stuck on Tales of Vesperia. Still stuck on Tales of Vesperia. So at least for now, it looks like it's reading specifically Tales of Vesperia, which wasn't even the last one that I left off on, as that was Crash Bandicoot. What happens if I try to launch it? Okay, it does need... I'm just going to launch it from here. I'm not going to try to download the update. Let's see if it'll even launch from here. It does not. Couldn't start the software. Return to the home menu and try again. Go again. So it does attempt to at least read the cartridge, but it just sees it as, I guess, one of the game files that's on here. Let me go back to the OLED. Real quick. I want to see if maybe just cycling back through here will have an effect on it. So it sees it as Tales of Vesperia. Still just sees it as Tales of Vesperia. It is not coming off of Tales of Vesperia at all right now. And actually, if I go to it, it says a software update is required for my Switch OLED, which is interesting. So there you go. It's downloading, I guess, for Tales of Vesperia, which I've definitely done that before here. And it still loads it after I downloaded that update for it. So while it works there, I've noticed that now, all of a sudden, after going from the Switch 2 to the OLED, I cannot get off of Tales of Vesperia. That's kind of interesting. I'm not really sure why. Because if I go over here, let's go back to the Switch 2 for a second. So we're back to Tales of Vesperia. Let's download the update, okay? So the update's done. Let's go through as just basic user here on the Switch 2. And it still says couldn't start the software. So the MIG switch doesn't appear to brick the Switch 2, but it definitely doesn't play nice with it. Now it just says it can't... Oh, wait, there we go. Look, we're back to Sonic Racing now. So now it is cycling through it somewhat. I'm off to, like, Sonic Racing. That's just what it's on now, it looks like. Oh, now we're to Wild Guns. Okay, so it's at least cycling a bit better. Let's see if it'll play Wild Guns. No. So the MIG switch can, it seems anyway, cycle at times, not every time. But the Switch 2 can't read the MIG switch basically, but it also doesn't brick the system immediately when you drop it in, okay? So this is kind of what I was expecting to happen, where it would still work on like the Switch OLED without any problems. But in this case, it won't launch at all on the Switch 2, but it's also not going to destroy it completely. As for it cycling through games, I've had that happen here and there with the MIG switch anyway, and this could have just been one of those instances that was just lined up with
1. Nintendo Switch 2. Beware of bans for playing used games. 2. Switch 2 user warns about accidental ban from pre-owned Switch game cards. 3. Nintendo Switch 2 bans explained. Beware buying secondhand games. 1. Nintendo Switch 2. Beware of bans for playing used games. Nintendo's controversial stance on used games. Are players at risk? As gaming enthusiasts, we all know that indulging in video games can be quite a costly affair. This reality often leads players to explore the secondhand market in search of bargains. After all, why shell out $60, $70, or even $80 for a brand new game when you can enjoy the same thrilling experience at a fraction of the price? However, a new development has emerged that could change the way we think about purchasing used games for the Nintendo Switch 2. Just a month after the launch of Nintendo's latest console, reports have surfaced of players facing bans for engaging in what they believe to be legitimate gaming practices. This situation stems from Nintendo's stringent approach to combating piracy, which has become so intense that even playing a secondhand game you bought legally could lead to a ban on your Switch 2. A Reddit user shared their unfortunate experience of being banned after downloading updates for 4 used Switch games they purchased from Facebook Marketplace. It's important to clarify that banning players for using a secondhand
Hello everyone, and welcome to How Fix It. Today, we're taking on one of the most advanced Nintendo Switch 2 repairs. I'll guide you step by step through disassembling your Switch 2, diagnosing critical motherboard issues, and replacing the faulty mainboard. If your console is showing a solid blue or black screen at startup, crashing when graphics load, displaying corrupted visuals, stuck in endless boot loops, or failing to charge properly, then this repair guide is exactly what you need. For this repair, you will need a Tri-Wing and Phillips 1 screwdriver, plastic pry tools, a pair of tweezers, thermal paste, and thermal putty. I'll specify the type later. You will also need isopropyl alcohol and cotton swabs. I've included links to all the necessary tools in the video description below. Before you start disassembling the console, I highly recommend using a magnetic mat. The Nintendo Switch 2 has a lot of small screws of different sizes, and keeping track of them is really important for an easy reassembly process. A magnetic mat helps you organize the screws by sections and prevents them from getting lost, since they stay attached to the mat. It's a simple but very helpful tool when working on compact devices like Switch 2. Okay, let's get started. Make sure to turn off the console completely and remove the Joy-Cons. Lift the kickstand and remove the two screws using a Tri-Wing screwdriver. Next, remove the two screws near the charging port at the bottom of the console, as well as the single screw located at the top edge of the case. Now, we need to peel off these stickers. To remove them carefully, use a pair of curved tweezers. Start by prying up the sticker from the inner side near the Joy-Con connector. Insert a second pair of tweezers in the small gap and begin peeling the sticker along the edge of the chassis. This is how easily you can remove the stickers without causing any damage. Remove the second sticker using the same method. Remove the two screws located beneath each of the stickers on both sides. Use a plastic spudger to gently pry up the bottom cover. Then, release the latches through the small openings to remove the back cover. The heat pipe in the Switch 2 is very thin and must be handled with extreme care during removal. It is hollow and contains a specialized cooling fluid. If bent, it loses its ability to effectively transfer heat to the heatsink. Additionally, the heat pipe is secured with thermal paste and double-sided thermal tape beneath the heatsink. To remove it safely without causing damage, use two plastic spatulas, one on each side, to apply even pressure. Gently lift the heat pipe to loosen it, but do not remove it completely until the power and volume button flex cable. We now have access to the NVIDIA T239 chip and the RAM chips. Here are some red flag scenarios that often indicate a faulty CPU or GPU chip or damaged RAM on a Nintendo Switch 2 motherboard. Solid blue or black screen at power on. Classic sign of broken solder balls under the processor chip or one of the RAM chips. Crash as soon as graphics load in a game, suggests overheating or internal GPU damage within the T239 chip. Visual artifacts, corrupted textures, or color blocks during 3D rendering, likely caused by failure in VRAM lines or the GPU core. Endless boot loop or firmware update that stalls, even after swapping in a known good UFS storage module, often points to defective RAM or a bad UFS package. Blue screen that responds to board flexing or heating points to microfractures under the CPU or RAM BGA solder. Normal charging current, but no video or backlight, and a cold CPU indicates that the T239 chip is not powering on at all. No Wi-Fi and Bluetooth plus blue screen faults, a sign of failure in the radio frequency subsystem integrated within the T239 chip. Before you blame the T239 chip, always try the quick fixes. Drop in a known good battery, replace the USB-C port, test with a fresh
All right, real talk. Did you get a Switch 2A or a Switch 2B? Now, you might not know that there's a difference, but there actually is, and one of them could have major problems. Some new Switch 2 owners are already finding hardware issues with their screens, with their controllers, and straight up broken systems altogether. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what's going down, the problems that are being found and faced when they pop up, and what you can do about it to determine if you've got a Switch 2 blankets, Kanutsugami, and Cyberpunk 2077, and then my battery died relatively quickly, but I did have an absolute blast and I enjoyed it. Now, if related to this whatsoever and can be fixed easily, so what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switch Force. Hit that like button if you're enjoying this Switch 2 launch. I'm having Switch 2, which isn't Nintendo's fault, it was actually GameStop's, but others are finding little scratches on their Switch 2 screen, as well as little like cardboardy bits. This is not a factory issue or a factory defect, this is just Nintendo's packaging isn't that great, and unfortunately the Switch 2 screen is just cozied up right to the top of the box, I'd argue too close. So that's not really an issue with the Switch itself, it's more like this box wasn't good and you kind of got unlucky. Some people are also reporting that out of the box, their Joy-Con won't charge, and a lot of this has to do with needing a firmware update. So while your Joy-Con are still alive, make sure to update your controllers if you feel like they won't charge, and usually there's a bug fix or a firmware update that just needs to be put on your specific Joy-Con. Not sure how it got missed or how that happened, but it does seem like it's a fix that's being easily remedied. Another one is this error code 21680002, an error has occurred. Please press the power button and restart the console. This is happening early on when setting up the system, but most users are reporting that once you reset the system once, it doesn't really come up again. Another issue that some people are having is hard freezes. Now, we'll see if these become more frequent as the days progress, but right now it does seem to be a rare random issue. Oops, I popped out of Mario Kart and tried to load the eShop and the console froze. Just hard reset it by holding that power button, reboot it, and everyone I've seen is reporting no more issues after the initial problem. Those are things that are just random that happen to electronic devices, but this next slate of problems, this is what would make you have a Switch 2B, and you might be in for some trouble. Okay, a Switch 2B could have a Joy-Con, just one of them, that won't charge all the way. We're seeing a bunch of reports come in that certain individuals got Switch 2s where even if they leave the Switch 2 docked, they leave the Switch 2 Joy-Con on, it's charging, it won't go past about 70 or 75%. This is kind of a problem and kind of something that we hope will go away. Now, some people are reporting that after a few days, it just kept charging and charging and then got where it needed to get. But we'll have to keep eyes on it to see, because this doesn't seem like something that should be happening. It's understandable if they won't charge at all and you need a firmware fix. But if one of them will only go up to 70%, there's no toggle for that in the system. Like, you can click on to have the Switch 2 console only charge 90% to preserve the battery. That ain't a thing with the Joy-Con 2. They're supposed to charge all the way, so watch out. Dead pixels are another problem that users are reporting, with a number of different placements, completely random it seems, and dead pixels are unfortunate. I think dead pixel is a totally reasonable reason to return your Switch 2. As long as you can find another one, you shouldn't have to sell it for a dead pixel. This definitely makes your Switch 2 a Switch 2B, because it should not have a single blemish.
Show you guys and girls again. As you can see, I own every single game Nintendo has ever created, every exclusive title. Doesn't matter what game it is, I do. First of all, these third-party companies gotta sell accessories. They have to sell accessories, so they have to get that stuff out in the market, showcase it, and they have to get this stuff out there before it comes out so people can know, hey, this company is making Nintendo accessories, this company is making Switch accessories. I'm sorry, Switch 2 accessories. You know, they have to get this information out there so people would know that these things are going to exist. But for Nintendo to blatantly lie and say, oh, that's not what it looks like, that's not what it looks like. These guys did not go out here and sculpture and model all this stuff off the top of their head and be like, oh yeah, you know, we just gotta make these artificial accessories and just hope this is what it's gonna look like. Okay, that's just ridiculous. And another thing I thought was kind of crazy is now you find out that the Switch 2 is about to be in stores in the next 3 or 4 months. So let me get this straight. When in the entire time of history have you ever known a company to withhold a simple
let's make no mistake here. The Switch 2 is making money hand over fist, and I've made no OLED model is coming out at some point. But honestly, I don't think it matters that much. The LCD that's in it is perfectly fine for handheld play. It's bright, it's very sharp. I actually think the color reproduction is really good, it really pops. There's clearly some compromises that have been made in terms of cost and battery life, but look, the screen is the least of the Switch 2's worries. The Switch